bro. Come on. Come on, listen, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something real fast. Cuomo is not coming uptown. He's not coming up here. If he is, he's going to some private dinner event with a bunch of people that are not real people. We're here in the park with some real people, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. That was a look at one of Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani's campaign videos that went viral on social media. Mamdani's unique social media strategy and his collaboration with some big names helped him connect with a diverse crowd of voters across the 5 boroughs, and that includes my next guest. The Kid Mero is here, a Dominican-American comedian and podcaster from the Bronx. They're walking the streets of Washington Heights. They're out there days before the primary election. He's a celebrity in his own right, so people are hugging up on him. Joel Martinez, also known as the Kid Mero, joins us to talk about the Mamdani win and much more. Thanks so much for coming in. Great to see you.
Hey, Aaron, my man.
Absolutely.
Let's go. We on New York 1, baby. Let's go.
You grew up in the Bronx.
Yes, sir.
You're familiar with Washington Heights, to say the least. But you've moved across the Hudson to New Jersey with your family, and that's actually related to why you're supporting Mamdani, right?
Yes, because I couldn't afford it. It was unaffordable. You know, I'm a father of 4. You know, even as a dual income household, you know, even as people are like, man, stop the cap, Mero, you are on TV. There's no way. And people automatically, because you're on TV, that you have $1 million trillion, and that wasn't the case.
No, believe me, I know, Doc.
don't call up Mero asking him for kind of money. It's not happening. But no, so it was really like, you know, my wife was teaching at the time. I had just kind of like got into entertainment and TV, and we were both doing pretty well for ourselves. And even still, you know, we couldn't afford to buy something like, you know, a condo or, you know, anything that would fit, you know, the amount of kids that we have.
Yeah, I mean, 4 kids, you're past the 1-bedroom stage, right? You're past the 2-bedroom stage.
We were in a 3-bedroom and trying to make it work, you know, and having like room to do work, because she does a lot of work at home. I do a lot of work at home. So just trying to have the space to do everything that we needed to do was like impossible.
And so how did you hear about Mamdani, and how did you actually connect up with him?
Well, it was funny because, you know, UPK is one of the things that kind of pushed me out of the city. When it stopped being a thing, I was like, oh, wow, okay, now I got to come up with this extra, you know, 5 figures yearly, and I'm like, how am I going to do this? So, you know, shout out to Min Tran, you know, on my team, and he kind of put me on to Zohran early, to the point where if you go check out Victory Light, y'all, you know what I mean? If you go on there, we sat down, I think it was like in April, you know, and he was polling like low. You know?
He was single digits.
Single digit polling, but like a lot of the stuff that he was campaigning on, the policies, the UPK, you know, the rent stuff, you know, really spoke to me, you know, as a born and bred Bronxite, and my sister's out there, you know, my parents are there, so it was like, okay, this is for those people, because my mom and my dad's an HVAC technician, my mom's a public school teacher, and on those incomes, they were able to buy a house.
How about
you know? And, you know, I was like, well, that's the American dream, isn't it? Like, like I have a job that contributes to society. You know, I'm here educating children. My dad's making sure that your butt don't sweat in the summer, and you can't afford to buy a house.
No, it's true.
It seems kind of wild.
No,
so
prior generation was a different story. My dad was NYPD cop, sole breadwinner. My mom later took a part-time job, but there were 7 of us, 5 kids. And he bought a house. Yeah. I mean, it could be done back then. Yeah. So did you give him any social media tips? You're very comfortable in the streets. We showed a little bit of that there. Right?
So listen, I love, you know, I love the Bronx. You know what I mean? I love New York City. I'm a New York City kid through and through, man. I always say, like, what makes you really a New Yorker is, where did you go to school? Did you go to, you know, 3rd through high school in New York City? Then you are a New Yorker. And so there's a lot of, you know, like, just, you know, like I said, like, I love my city. So there's, you know, for me, it was easy to just kind of go out there and just not tell Zohran, like, yo, this is what you need to do. Right. But just kind of like, hey, like, let me put you on, you know, like, this is what I do, you know.
Did you have any sense that he was rising in the polls? Because all of us in the political class, we were watching this, and people couldn't believe what they were seeing as he just went from, 10% to 12% to 15% and then ended up winning.
I had a lot of faith in it after we did that walk and talk that you guys just rolled, because a lot of young people in particular were really engaged. And at that day, I think it was like voting was still open. So a lot of people were coming from the polls.
Right.
So we're walking around and then there's people that are, 20-something, 30-something, and are like, hey man, I just came from voting for you in the primary, like, da-da-da-da. So there was a lot of excitement around him. And I was like, man, if you just keep doing what you're doing here, just going down, boots on the ground, meeting people where they're at.
Yep.
Earlier in his campaign, he was on Fordham Road in the Bronx. And it was like, this is what you need to do. Just talk to these people, man. The only thing I did say to him was just like, listen, there's, because, he's running against Cuomo. I was like, brand loyalty is good for things like ketchup and tires, not for politicians. You know what I mean? Just because this is a brand of politicians that don't mean nothing.
No, that's very interesting. And in fact, Cuomo ended up winning the Bronx in the primary. You talked about him being out on Fordham Road. I think we have some video of him. This is something he did that, every other candidate's going to do this now because it was brilliant. I had never seen anybody do this. He went and found Trump voters and started talking to them. Let's take a look at this.
And who did you vote for?
Donald Trump.
Trump.
The $1 million question. Trump.
Honestly, I didn't vote.
Actually, I did not get a chance to vote.
But I didn't want to anyways.
What we're finding today, remember exactly where we were? There are far more people excited about the possibility of politics in this city on the same street, where last year there were very few who were looking to have that conversation. You going, boss?
Let's go, son. You got my vote.
How you doing?
Yes, let's go for him. Yes.
I'll vote for this guy. You are the best, bro.
Thank you, bro. How are you? It's time for a change.
Okay, so is it the man, the message, the media? I mean, they all linked up in his case, but how do you assess it?
I think what's special about him also is that he's a regular dude. Like if you watch, obviously when he does serious stuff, if you're sitting down with Errol Lewis, you know what I mean? We're talking about policy, we're talking about certain things, but when he's out on the campaign trail, he's talking to people, he's meeting them where they're at. And he's a regular guy, you know what I mean? Like he could talk to you about, yo, my heat went in my apartment because he has an apartment in Astoria. So it's just like, there's a lot to be said about his relatability, the fact that you couldn't spin him, you know what I mean? Like he always came back to the, yo, listen, I'm the mayor, I'm running to be the mayor of New York City. That's my main concern, is affordability. You know what I'm about. And they couldn't spin him into a lot of media outlets trying to get him to the spin zone.
Explain the concept of a Trump Mamdani voter. November of last year, they voted for Trump. June of this year, they're voting for Mamdani.
People. It's a lot of it is in the messaging and in the personality. People say that about Trump all the time. It's just like when he came out, it was just like this guy's personality is different than what I've seen. Like every other politician is very buttoned up. They're very this. They're very that. I can't relate to them on any level. A lot of people related to him on some level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It did what it did. Zoran is kind of like this is Wario to Zoran's Mario. You know what I mean? Where people relate to him on a good level.
Let's plug your podcast. You got two of them. They got different flavors.
Yes.
Take us through it.
Yes. So Victory Light is like an extension of the Mind of Mero. Actually, Victory Light was a blog that I started back in 06, 07. And I would write there, and that's kind of what spurred me on to start writing for TV and for other things, because the people that were reading it wasn't a ton of people at first, but that group of people that were reading it, I was like, wow. I was like, this is the editor for the New York Times, and this is this is Wale, and this is this person and that person. So I was like, wow, Anthony Bourdain's reading my blog, whenever I erratically post on this thing, so. That's kind of like a full circle moment now, because Victory Light, the podcast, is, I like to say that I'm not a ladder puller, right? So I'll climb that ladder and I'll leave it right there for the next kid from the Bronx or uptown to climb it and follow in my footsteps or whatever you want to call it. But that's kind of what Victory Light is. It's like a farm system, So I have two very talented young co-hosts, Lisbel Ortiz, the younger sister of Verdell Ortiz, who's also a very funny dude in his own right, and Rainier Valle, who's a very multi-hyphenate, talented dude. Even got me on the impressions. I used to be the impression guy, and he got me. So there's that, and then I got 7 p.m. in Brooklyn with Carmelo Anthony, which, if you're a fan of basketball, if you're a fan of New York basketball, if you're a fan of New York culture, that's literally like if you're hanging out at the barbershop and Melo pulls up. to
Great
get a shape
stories,
up.
great stories, great basketball stories,
Yeah.
and a whole lot more. You're probably going to get approached by a lot of politicians, you know.
Oh, I mean, yeah, you know, I feel like people see something work, and then they're like, "Yo, let's do that same thing." But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
man, listen, you're not. Listen, like I said, where's my single? Listen, you're not Zoran. I'm sorry to tell you, but you're not Zoran. He's a special, you know, first of all, he's a very genuine dude.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, because the word politician is almost pejorative nowadays. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, this guy's a politician.
Almost.
Yeah, you know, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so, you know, anybody that's like, I'm not a politician. I am, but I'm not like the other ones. You know, it's like, but he's a special guy in that regard, man. So
Okay.
listen, all of y'all that are just trying to run a play, it don't work like that. You know, you can run a play, but it's like Michael Jordan's running it versus me. You know.
We shall see. Well, listen, thanks so much for coming by. Great talking with you.
Thank you.
Great podcast, everybody. You should check it out. A lot of profanity. I warn you in advance.
Yeah.
It's real. It's real street. It's real gritty from the streets. Thanks a whole lot for coming by.
Just like Errol.
Okay.